Welcome all my dear students to Sudharma's physics classroom. We are on the chapter magnetic effect of electric current, and today we are going to learn how does an electric motor work. Okay? How an electric motor work and what is the principle behind the working of an electric motor. Before understanding how does a motor work, let's understand the principle behind the working of an electric motor. So, first, we are going to learn the force acting on a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field. The force acting on a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field. So, here you can see a horseshoe magnet, a conductor, and the conductor is connected with battery and a switch. And this conductor is freely suspended in the magnetic field of this horseshoe magnet. Freely suspended means it's able to move in any direction, right? That is why we are just suspended that using some strings, and that is connected to the battery. So these are the copper wires, and that makes the motion of this conductor AB very easy. Okay, so what happens the moment when you switch on the circuit? So initially, when there is no current flowing in the conductor AB, it's just a conductor and there is a magnetic field, right? And when you switch on the current, the moment the current starts flowing through the circuit, you can see that the current carrying conductor AB deflects from its position. It just moves from its position. So why it is moving? What makes that motion of this conductor AB? Let's go back to our basic principle of a bar magnet and a compass needle. A compass needle has north and south pole, and the bar magnet also has the north and south pole. And when you keep this compass needle in the magnetic field of a bar magnet, the compass needle will deflect, right? Why this compass needle is deflecting? So let's go back to the grade 9 portion where we learned what makes motion possible, right? We learned that the unbalanced force, external unbalanced force acting on the object makes motion possible. So that doesn't mean only for a normal object which is moving, the rule can be applied. We can apply it anywhere wherever the motion takes place. So here, who is exerting the external unbalanced force? The magnetic compass needle moves, right? So somebody is pushing that, someone is exerting a force on the compass needle. So the magnetic field exerted by the bar magnet is exerting a force on the compass needle. So that force dominates there and the compass needle gets deflected. Similarly, why I have taken that example here, this is very similar. This suspension of the current carrying conductor in the magnetic field of a horseshoe magnet, it is very similar to the motion of a compass needle in the effect of the force exerted by the bar magnet. So how do we compare that? When current passes through this conductor AB, the conductor AB behaves like a magnet. We have already learned the straight conductor magnet produces concentric circles magnetic field, circular magnetic field, right? So it behaves like a magnet the moment you switch on the circuit. So there is a magnetic field created by the horseshoe magnet, and there is a current carrying conductor magnet. This is very similar to the bar magnet and a compass needle. There are two magnets in this situation. Here also we have two magnets, right? So in which direction this current carrying conductor deflects, or how much deflection will be taking place, right? These are the questions coming to our mind. So we can understand that the force acting on the current carrying conductor is directly proportional to the length of the conductor. The force is directly proportional to the amount of current passing through the conductor, and the force experienced by the current carrying conductor, it depends on the strength of the magnetic field. B means magnetic field strength. Magnetic field strength. Okay, so all these are direct proportionalities. So force is directly proportional to length of the conductor, it is directly proportional to the current flowing through the conductor, and it is directly proportional to the magnetic field produced by this horseshoe magnet. So depending on all these factors, the deflection changes. The amount of deflection changes. Now, the next question is in which direction it moves? In which direction the current carrying conductor moves? So we can clearly see that it moves, but how to find out the direction of deflection? We can use Fleming's left hand rule. Fleming's left hand rule. See, already we have learned one hand rule, that was right hand thumb rule, that is to find out the magnetic field around a straight current carrying conductor. Now we are going to learn Fleming's left hand rule. This gives you the direction of motion of the current carrying conductor kept in the magnetic field. First, let's go through the rule, then I will explain how to apply this. Hold the forefinger, the middle finger and the thumb of the left hand in mutually perpendicular directions as shown in the figure. If the forefinger indicates the direction of magnetic field and the middle finger the direction of current, then the thumb will indicate the direction of motion of the conductor. So we are taking 3 fingers on our left hand. Make sure we are using left hand because it's Fleming's left hand rule. So which all fingers we are taking? We have to take the forefinger. Let me take the word central finger for middle finger. There is a use for that. Okay, so central finger and thumb. Right, these are the 3 fingers we are taking. So forefinger indicates the magnetic field. See, I'm just giving you a trick to memorize the quantities on each fingers. Central finger indicates the direction of current and thumb indicates the direction of force or motion of the current carrying conductor. So why I have chosen this? Why I have chosen forefinger, central finger and thumb? So forefinger, you can see F, forefinger field. Field is magnetic field, right? This way you can memorize it. You can learn this rule as it is, but you memorize it in this way. Okay, see, later on we will have to learn Fleming's right hand rule. There also we will be taking these fingers and the same quantities, but the rule is different, but the quantities are the same. So if you learn it now, then it's going to be useful for you later in Fleming's right hand rule also. Okay, so forefinger indicates the field. Forefinger, F, magnetic field. Central finger, instead of middle finger, I have used the term central finger for a purpose. Central finger indicates the direction of current, C and C, right? Then the remaining finger is thumb, right? So thumb will indicate the direction of motion or force acting on the current carrying conductor. So this is how we apply Fleming's left hand rule. So Fleming's left hand rule is to find out the direction of motion of a current carrying conductor kept in the magnetic field. We are going to keep the left hand 3 fingers, forefinger, central finger and thumb in mutually perpendicular directions in such a way that forefinger indicates the direction of magnetic field, central finger indicates the direction of current, then the thumb will indicate the direction of motion or the force acting on the current carrying conductor. I will be discussing the questions or application level questions on this in detail in a separate video, because today we are going to learn electric motor also. If I start with questions, it will be too much for you. Okay, we will do separate questions. I will come on video and show you how to apply this left hand rule when we discuss the question answers. Okay, so this is the principle behind electric motor. A force, a current carrying conductor kept in a magnetic field experiences a force. A conductor which can move freely and which is kept in a magnetic field experiences a force when current passes through it and it moves. This is the principle of electric motor. So, electric motor is a device which converts electrical energy into mechanical energy. Electrical energy to mechanical energy. What do you mean by mechanical energy? Last year you have studied work energy chapter, right? In work energy chapter you learned what are the different types of energies, kinetic and potential energies, right? So mechanical energy is the sum of kinetic and potential energies, right? So here motor is a rotating device. It's a rotating device. How does it rotate? It rotates with the help of an electrical energy. We have to connect a power supply. So a current carrying conductor is kept in the magnetic field. It experiences a force. That principle is used to construct an electric motor. Where do you see electric motors in real life? Just think about that. In your real life, in your house itself, you can see electric motor, right? Say the fan, washing machine, right? And mixie, grinder, many things. In many things, we can see this rotating device. Okay, so it's based on the motor principle. Now let's understand the construction of a motor. Okay, so this is the diagram of a motor. We have to learn the diagram. It's very important. So we have the magnetic field of a horseshoe magnet. The north and south pole of the horseshoe magnet is shown here. See, don't worry about what is this box, right? Many students used to ask when they see this diagram. This is nothing but the north and south of a horseshoe magnet. Okay. So instead of drawing the complete magnet, only those north and south poles are shown here. So within the magnetic field of a horseshoe magnet, we have kept a rectangular coil. Rectangular coil ABCD is kept in the magnetic field of a horseshoe magnet. So this is called as an armature. Okay, so what is armature? Armature is that rectangular coil is the metallic coil wound round a soft iron core so that it is free to rotate. It is fixed firmly on the axis XY. There is an axis XY and a soft iron core. Hope you remember the soft iron core we have discussed in the case of a solenoid. Soft iron helps to increase the magnetic field strength. Okay, and already we have learned when the strength of the magnetic field is more, then the turning effect, the motion, the force acting on the conductor will be more. That is why we are using a soft iron core along with this rectangular coil. So armature is the current carrying conductor kept in the magnetic field. Now we have two brushes, B1 and B2. Okay, brushes. Brushes are carbon brushes, and the allotrope of carbon, which is a conductor of electricity, is graphite, right? So we have two stationary brushes. Brushes will not move. Okay, brushes will not move. This is a repeated question. Which part of an electric motor does not move? Because motor is a rotating device, we all know that, but one part of the motor will not move. Definitely the battery will not move, but as a part of the motor, the brushes will not move. Brushes acts like the conducting path between the battery and this armature coil. Okay, and we have the most important part, that is a split ring commutator. So a split ring commutator. Commutator means it's a device which helps to reverse the direction of current. If the rotation of the armature is to be sustained, the direction of current through the armature should be continuously keep on changing. The split ring helps to change the direction of current through the coil after every half rotation. Hence, it is also called split ring commutator. This is nothing but a complete ring split into two. Okay, that is why it is called a split ring, and it is called as a commutator because it's a device which reverses the direction of current in the circuit. So the parts of the motor are, we have the magnetic poles to provide the strong magnetic field, armature coil to allow the current to pass through the coil and rotate in the magnetic field, and the carbon brushes which acts like the conducting path between the battery and the armature coil. Brushes, the split rings will be interchanging the positions to make a constant direction of current in the coil and reverse the direction of current in the armature's arm AB and CD. Okay, and there will be an axle also. So let's learn how this motor work, right? So because we started with the question, how does an electric motor works? So now we are going to understand in step by step the working of the electric motor. So let's just look at this diagram. Here we have an axle also. This is an insulating material. This is what we see outside that motor. Okay, the rotating part, what we see is this axle. Okay, so initially I just take the direction of current as positive to negative. We have to take the direction of current from positive to negative end of the battery. So in the first case, the current goes from A to B, then C to D, right? This is how the current flows in the armature. So I just say current is flowing from A to B and C to D, right? So when this happens, the splittering and the brush combination, splittering is P and the brush is X on this side, and on the other side splittering is Q and the brush is Y, right? This is a combination of splittering and the brushes. Hope you're understanding. Now current is flowing from A to B and it goes from B to C, because there we are just keeping it along the direction of magnetic field, and the current comes out of the circuit through CD, right? So now we are going to apply Fleming's left hand rule. When you apply Fleming's left hand rule, we have to keep the direction of this is magnetic field, right? North to south. How do you understand the direction of magnetic field? From north to south, because always outside the magnet it will be from north to south. Current is moving away from you, right? A to B. So it's difficult to show it here. When it is done with, in 3Ds, we will be able to see that when you do it really with your fingers. Okay, so this is the direction of current. So definitely when you keep three mutually perpendicular axes, this is the direction of force acting on the conductor. So when you analyze this diagram, you can understand that the current, the arm AB moves downward. Okay, arm AB moves downward. So when the arm AB moves downward and at the arm CD of the conductor, current is from C to D. When you apply Fleming's right hand rule on the arm CD, you can see that CD moves upward. Okay, so this is the first process. So AB moves downward and CD moves upward. So at that time, when this half rotation takes place, the combination of splittering and the brushes, as I said, brush will remain there itself. Brush will not change. Only the splittering moves. So splittering, Q comes to the side of brush X and P goes to the side of Y. Because it's along with this rotation of the arm AB and CD, QX and PY is going to be the next combination of brushes and splitterings. So now what happens is, after the half rotation, see this, I'm just drawing only the outline. So here we have DC occupying the space of AB initially, and this is going to be BA. Okay, this is after the half rotation, and current in the arm goes from D to C and then from B to A. So in the next half rotation, again the process is the same. We are going to apply Fleming's left hand rule to the arm CD of the coil, and we can see that CD comes downward and AB moves upward. So as a whole, we will be getting an anti-clockwise rotation. Okay, so initially the current was from A to B, then C to D. Then at that time the combination of brushes and splitterings were PX and QY. And at that point we are going to apply Fleming's left hand rule, and we find that AB will be moving downward and CD will be moving upward. And after the half rotation, the combination of splittering and the brushes interchange. Brushes will not move, only the splittering will change its position. And in the second half rotation, CD will be on the side of AB initially, and CD will be moving downward and AB will be moving upward. So what is the role of the splittering in this case? Initially the current was from A to B and C to D. In the second half rotation, the current is from D to C and B to A, right? In the second half rotation, current in the second half, okay, second half rotation, current is from D to C and then from B to A. So here as a whole we don't see any difference, but within the coil the direction of current is reversed, right? So that is done with the help of the split ring. So split ring acts like a commutator. I have shown you initially, split ring is a commutator. Commutator is a device which reverses the direction of current in a circuit. So here the split ring acts like a commutator. So hope you have understood the functioning of an electric motor. Let's observe that here in this video. So we have just observe only one of the arms in this motor. See, if you observe only one of the arms, maybe you can observe the one which is having that star mark. Okay, the position is interchanging. Along with that, you can observe the split rings also. The split ring is just getting rotated, and you can see the brushes are stationary in both the sides, right? So hope all of you have understood the working of electric motor. These are the very, very important topics in physics. Even when you go to higher studies to learn science, then definitely you have to learn all these things. This basic things should be there in your mind. So if you have any doubts, you can put your doubts in the comment box. I will definitely reply to that. So just clarify all the doubts. Read the textbook. That is important. Read the textbook and just check the class again if you have any doubt, and the explanation of the electric motor and the Fleming's left hand rule. It's very, very, very important. So in the coming class, I will be coming with the question answers up to the portion we have discussed. So that means the basic magnetism properties and the magnetic field due to different shape current carrying conductors, Oersted experiment, and the motor, and the Fleming's left hand rule, etc. All these concepts, question answers will be discussed in the coming video. If you are watching this video for the first time, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon for more updates. And the coming topic, after the question answer discussion, we have another interesting topic, that is electromagnetic induction. Okay, so stay tuned for more and more interesting topics in physics, and see you soon with the question answers of magnetic effect of electric current. Thank you for watching. Bye.